So Dylan, this is an action comedy. Griff doesn't always look the coolest while doing the big action scenes early on. You're making some pretty funny faces. You look like a total badass at the very end, though. So you show your full potential. But how is it leaning into that aspect of putting the character first for those action scenes early on?
It's funny that you mentioned that because I think the big talk around town is the kind of mythology behind Tom Cruise doing his own stunts. And first off, he's unique in his own right. But I think that part of the reason it's really important for a lot of action sequences and actors to do is for exactly what you mentioned, which is that like the background and the backstory of the individual character that you have is going to react physically differently in any given circumstance. And that's sometimes pretty hard to convey to stuntmen sometimes, and that's largely the responsibility to like know your stuntman well, communicate with them how this character would act, and then you kind of play around in that space with them. So immediately like going in to Under Fire, it's just a very different movie from Aftermath, and Griff is not necessarily a badass, and so trying to kind of physically portray a guy that seems way in over his head, like virtually immediately, was something that was important to do as he kind of breaks down halfway through the movie. So yeah, I think that was it's definitely it's a fun experience to do because now that especially even Mason and I have done fight scenes together where we're going full badass. So to play something kind of opposite of that was and stretch my legs in that regard definitely pushed me physically, which I like.
And Mason, your character Abbott, he has more common sense of the two characters. What's the biggest challenge in playing more of the straight man in an action comedy?
It's funny because I feel like denoting it the straight man implies like a level of consistency throughout that I think Alex kind of goes against, and that Griff certainly has a more optimistic take on things or more fly by the seat of his pants approach. What I find compelling about Alex is his ability to remain pragmatic and practical under pressure, which allows for Griff's. If you look at if it were like a graph, and Griff has a tendency to arc upwards into the more positive notion of things, or to make light of the gravity of situations. As an actor, it made sense to me to balance out with a level of gravity so that the audience could fall somewhere in the middle, so that things don't feel devoid of tension, but also, uh, as credit to Dylan, it doesn't feel like we're taking the circumstances too seriously, because you have to believe that these characters are under duress, but also capable of overcoming it by the skin of their teeth. And I think that gray area of whether or not they will not make it out alive is born between the respective arcs of competency that both of them sort of embody. If you see Alex break, or if he were to have a moment of desperation, he requires Griff to lift him out of it, and vice versa, for different reasons. And I feel like that makes it more human, makes it a more earned story, and that these two would be the reason they both were able to survive because they worked together, I guess. But maybe that's just my read on it.
No, that makes total sense, and you guys play off each other so well. And Dylan, you both were in Aftermath together as enemies. This time around, you're allies, although there is that tension because you both didn't know each other was undercover. What did you like most about just building that chemistry over two films in a short time period? And how did that help your performance?
We'll say like I think what obviously you don't see is that like Mason and I had known each other before Aftermath, and then we're friends after that too, and so we've hung out a lot both in between those movies, before the movie, and then after even this movie, and so I think that certainly helps. Obviously, like the closer you are as actual human beings, it makes it a lot easier for any sort of deliverable performance. You're going to get better drama, you're going to get better comedy, you're going to get better fear, hatred in this case. And I think, for that reason, it was kind of like an obvious sign on for me, like seeing Mason and then theorizing like a buddy cop duo between the two of us was just clear as day. And furthermore, like when we made Aftermath, Mason wasn't actually there for a lot of the shooting of it. He had a pretty tight schedule. I believe you were shooting something else, and you had like a week long window or something. And so I was actually very happy to work with him, but disappointed we didn't get to work more, spend more time together. So knowing that we were going to jump into Under Fire too, and finally get to, play around on set in a way that was like both comedic and more playful. This movie's definitely more playful than Aftermath was. And so I knew that was just going to be a great time. So for all of those reasons, I think the chemistry just came super easy.
And a lot of that too, Stephen Miller, who directed it, had such a clever way of, whether it was scheduling or directing us through rhetoric and through choices, to find sequences in which we could kind of let our characters incite the like rhetorical dynamic that we could, whether it's improv or just trying something, saying something or doing something in a very off the wall way, that I feel like we were able to find something that, you can try to write, but if you don't cast two people that get along as well as we do, it might not come across as, compelling. So
Yeah, and Steven's really smart. He's really making the most out of these films. He did that with Werewolves last year, and you can tell with this film as well. And Mason, I really enjoyed you in Hard Eyes earlier this year, which was such a fun mix of romance and horror. This is a
I haven't seen it yet, so please don't spoil it.
no,
oh,
I
no
know
no
that's like not
spoilers,
nice to say, but if there's any spoilers coming, please, because I will watch it, I
you
promise.
should know
no
Dylan's never
spoilers.
watched any work of mine that he isn't in, which is actually a considerable amount of my
Dude, you know me. I all I do is play video games and paint Warhammer figurines. Like I don't
by
really.
the way, same except not Warhammer, but video games, and I still find time to watch all of your work.
You're a consummate professional. I'm a
Ah,
goofball. I'm a silly
ah,
goose.
silly goose. You're right. I can't get mad. Thank you.
You
Thank
can't
you,
get
Tyler.
mad can't get mad at a silly goose.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you've just done a wide range of genre work lately. You're obviously like a horror mainstay as well, but are there any genres, Mason, that you're really looking to do in the future that you haven't yet?
Yeah, I really want to do, and maybe this is because I'm currently playing Mafia, the old country right now. I really want
Same.
to do a, hell yeah, like a period piece, romance or drama or crime threat, anything in there, but as long as I get to wear like suspenders and like smoke cigarettes, like that's
Yeah,
how.
see?
Yeah,
Amazing.
I
See?
would love to do one of those. I think I might be next year, which is really exciting, but
I,
I can't, you never know. I
I
would
would love
love.
to see you in one. I would love that. And Dylan, my favorite line in the whole film was you going, "So you're a dick shooter now, huh?" And that was just such a funny line.
Improvised if you can't believe it.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if that was in the original script. There's even a callback later on. So that was all improvised.
There was a lot of improv in this movie. There was a lot of fun improv in this. Steven was really cool to let me kind of spread my wings in that way and really go to town. Griff has like a lot of little shit he's saying constantly. He's a chatterbox. He's quite annoying, which is very fun for me. But yeah, that was a fun line. And then Steven and the writers loved it so much they wanted to add it at the end and do a callback to it. So I think it's a fun line. It's a clippable line. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's going to get a lot of use after this is on digital and all that. Mason, I know you can't talk much about Scream 7, but fans are so excited for that. What stood out about working with Kevin Williamson? Because he crafted those original movies. So, like, that has to be really cool for you after working with Radio Silence to work with, like, the OG there.
Well, maybe it goes without saying, but Kevin Williamson, in starting the franchise and kind of having it be his brainchild, offers a level of insight into world building and intent and creative ethos that only he could provide. It meant that the Scream fan and me could ask questions that otherwise just don't really have answers, and he'll come up with them or have them accessible in a way that's just incredibly fascinating and satiating as a fan of the franchise. And I feel like a lot of times you go on a project and you just kind of do your part, you play your character, and then you leave and hopefully watch the movie and all of it kind of coalesces into something wonderful. But I feel that way even in wrapping 7. I feel like I know exactly what the movie is, and it's one I'm very happy with, and cannot wait for people to see what Kevin's been cooking up.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see it. And Dylan, my last question. After Happy Gilmore 2, everybody's talking about Adam Sandler sequels. If a Big Daddy 2 were to happen, there's a tricky situation. Would you and Cole decide like who has the rights to Julian? Would you have to alternate for the first time since you were kids? How would
Right.
that go?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess we'd have to cross that bridge once we get to it.
What do you mean? By the way, that's the sweetest setup. You keep the same hours. You both work like 8 hours apiece, and you both play the same character.
That's the best case scenario. Or actually,
Absolutely,
my
but
thing is, I would love to have a scenario where I switched off roles with my brother. Now it's just better hours.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it
That's
would just be amazing. It's
but
too,
individual rates.
yeah, it's just the only part that would get us now is like I'm infinitely more handsome than him. So that would like be kind of tough. So we'd have to do something about that. Maybe get him a little trip to Korea before we shot that. Something, we'll figure it out.
They
What?
can do a lot with CGI today, these days. So maybe
That's
they can.
crazy. You can play my body double.
You're both handsome. You're both very good
Awesome.
looking.
Thank you guys so much. I really enjoyed Under Fire. You two are just a blast. And Mason, enjoy Mafia. That game's incredible.
I'm loving it. You
Thank
too.
you guys.